In this video, we will look at creating dashboards. The dashboard itself is where we display a collection of reports, also known as dashlets. In my example, I can see my dashboard contains several reports. We will discuss how to create our own dashboard that houses these reports. To start, we first need to access the dashboard configuration area. You can do this via the maintenance application. Click on the report drop-down and then choose Dashboard Configuration. The Dashboard Configuration window will then appear. This window is split into two parts. First, we have the Dashboard Designer page, which allows us to create, edit, and delete dashboards. The second is the Report Designer, where we create reports. We will focus on the Dashboard Designer in this video. Also take note that both areas have links available to video tutorials that explains each part in detail. The Dashboard Designer page is divided into two parts. At the top we have buttons where we can create new dashboards, edit existing dashboards, and delete dashboards if we so wish. Below this we have a list of all existing dashboards. Here we can see the name of the dashboard followed by a short description. We can choose the platform on which the dashboard will be available by ticking and unticking the boxes shown here. The options available are the Patricia mobile app, the Patricia client application, and the Patricia client portal. We also have quick access to the parameter area and the security settings. To access the parameter settings, click on the parameter button. You can set dashboard security by clicking on the security button. To add security, choose a security group and click the arrow button. This will ensure only users in that security group will be able to access the dashboard. We can also filter our dashboard list by entering a value in the dashboard filter shown here. Let's create a new dashboard. To do so, click on the New Dashboard button. The first step is to choose the template type. We need to enter a dashboard name and a short description. Next, choose on which platform this dashboard should appear. Simply tick the tick box next to each platform that apply. We have two types of dashboards that we can create. You can choose between a general dashboard and a case dashboard. The general dashboard will appear in the general dashboard window. The case dashboard will appear on the case records themselves under a new page called Dashboard. Lastly, we need to choose the display template for the dashboard. This choice defines how the dashboard will appear and how many dashlets are allowed to show. There are various options available, so choose the one best suited to your dashboard. I will choose the two-column layout. Click Next to move to the Designer layout. Here we define which reports will be displayed and where they are to be placed. You can see two empty layout blocks shown here. The size and placement of these blocks will differ depending on what type of display layout was chosen on the previous screen. I chose a two-column layout, and this is why I see two column blocks available on this page. On the left, I can see a list of all created reports. To add a report, find it in the list and then drag it onto the report area. You can filter the reports by using the filter field shown here. I will drag in my priority application reports for now. Once done, click Next to move to the parameter configuration. On the parameter configuration screen, we need to configure all the input parameters found in our reports. Under the name column, we can see all placeholders found in our report SQL query. At the moment, we only have one parameter called toYear. To see context for this, let's take a look at this report in Patricia. Note the parameters shown here. This is what we are setting up at the moment. The first step is to decide what type of component matches the placeholders in the report. You need to assign the correct component to each of the placeholder values. If you are querying a date value, then you want a date component to appear in your report. If you wish the user to enter a string value, then you need to choose a text component. We have 3 component types available. We have date type, we have text type, and a combo box, which allows the user to make a selection from a drop-down. Whenever you use a combo box, you need to specify the SQL syntax that will be used to populate your drop-down list. We want a list of years to be displayed that the user can choose from, so let's add that. Click on the combo box button here. We are presented with a new screen where we need to paste in our SQL query. This will be used to populate the drop-down list when the user clicks it. Next, choose the value and the label field from the drop-down shown here. The options you see in this drop-down is populated based on columns returned in your SQL query. Let's click Save. Now we need to provide the label which will appear next to the input field when the dashboard is run. We will click in this field and add the words year. Next, we also need to define the initial value. This is the value that will load as the default entry when the report is opened. The options you see here will change depending on the type of component chosen. I will click on this button and then choose current year. The last step is to set up security on these parameters. Do this by clicking on the security button. It's worth noting that we have 2 types of security setups for dashboard. The first is security setup on the parameters themselves, and this is what we are looking at right now. This defines whether the user can enter values in parameters or not. The second security setup is on dashboard level, and this is the next screen we will deal with. I will not add security onto my parameters, so no group will be added. Click Next to move to the dashboard security setup. This is where we set up dashboard security. To add security, choose the correct group and click the arrow button. Only allowed groups will then have access to this dashboard. I will choose the super user group. To finalize dashboard creation, click the Finish button. Let's take a look in Patricia. Here I can see my newly created dashboard does indeed appear, and when I click on it, I can see the reports that I added. At the moment, I have no values returned, so let me change the year criteria and then click Submit. Back in the Dashboard Designer, you have the option to edit a dashboard entry by selecting it and clicking the Edit Dashboard button. You can delete dashboards also by selecting it and clicking the Delete button. You can also switch between general dashboards and case dashboards by clicking here. The last point is that the parameter button and security buttons shown here are quick access buttons to those specific areas. You do not need to go through the wizard screens to get to these areas, but instead simply click on the buttons.